Rosalind Russell left all of a sudden in 1943 when she was at the height of her fame in Hollywood. Nothing in the movies or in public. She just disappeared. For many years, the official story was that they were tired. Now, her son Lance finally tells her the terrible truth. They kept more than one secret, though. This is the Rosalind Russell that no one knew, from her real birth year to the story that has never been told about her sadness on Oscar night. Rosalind Russell was born in Waterbury, Connecticut, on June 4, 1907. She grew up in a big house with 18 rooms at 305 Hillside Avenue. Her family was wealthy. Service staff were there to help with everything. Her dad, James Edward Russell, was a great trial lawyer who worked for big businesses and made a lot of money. Clara McKnight Russell, her mother, was from a wealthy family and worked for Vogue magazine as a fashion director. A lot of people thought Rosalind's name came from Shakespeare's play As You Like It, but it didn't. The boat, the SS Rosalind, is where her parents got the idea for her name. She would have a unique life because this strange name fit her personality. Rosalind went to strict Catholic schools like Tarrytown, New York's Marymount College. She had a safe life, but she wanted more freedom and fun. She applied to the American Academy of Dramatic Arts in New York City in secret when she was 19. She lied to her mother and said she wanted to be a drama teacher instead of an actor because she knew her parents wouldn't let her. In this small way, she showed how brave she was, which became a part of her personality and work. In later movies, she often played strong women who stood up for themselves. Rosalind began her job after she graduated from the Academy in 1929. Her family didn't agree with her choice, but she didn't care. To make money, she worked as a fashion model, doing shoots for top designers and being in magazines. She never gave up playing, though, and kept looking for parts on stage. In 1930, she got her big break when she got a part in the Broadway revue Garrick Gaieties. It was a hit, and there were 161 performances. It was Rosalind's first taste of fame. Rosalind did something brave in the summer of 1930. Even though her folks didn't want her to, she joined a stock company in Saranac Lake, New York. She lived in a small space and put on a new play every week for 7 months. It was hard for her, but it made her a better performer. She learned to quickly change her mind and think of new ideas on the spot, which helped her become popular. She joined Boston's Edward E. Clive's repertory company in 1931. She learned how important voice acting was for the new talking movies at this point. To get ready, she started taking voice and singing lessons seriously. Rosalind tried opera for a short time in 1932. She sang in small New York venues at first, but she quickly learned that her voice wasn't strong enough for classical music. She didn't let this setback stop her. Instead, it made her push herself harder. She chose to focus on playing in movies and going to Hollywood. Rosalind went to Los Angeles in 1934 to follow her dream. It helped her stand out that she had been a model and worked on Broadway. Soon after she got there, Universal Studios gave her a job, but she had a terrible time there. She didn't feel welcome or noticed on her first day, and the company didn't treat her well. Rosalind knew right away that Universal wasn't the right place for her. At the same time, MGM, the most prestigious company in Hollywood, saw her and asked her to come in for a screen test. Rosalind saw this as her chance to get away from Universal. She thought of a smart way to get out of her deal. That's why she chose to look so bad that Universal would no longer want her. On June 15th, she met Carl Lummel Jr., who was in charge of making movies at Universal. Rosalind didn't like him liking beautiful women, so she did the opposite. She wore bad clothes, messed up her hair, and made up, and her voice was annoying. She slouched and was careless. She even spilled coffee on his desk by mistake. She kept complaining about how bad things were at Universal for 45 minutes straight. Carl was so uneasy and bored with her that he decided to let her go. Rosalind hurried to get ready and then went straight to MGM to sign a new contract as soon as she left his office. On July 2nd, 1934, just 17 days later, Rosalind joined MGM for real. The studio was already excited about her prospects when she signed the 7-year deal. Her first big chance came up quickly. She got the part of Evelyn Prentice in a movie with William Powell and Myrna Loy, etc. Rosalind did not have a long part in the movie, but her role as Mrs. Nancy Harrison was important. But she made a strong impact in just 12 minutes. She had a tough scene on set when she had to act out an emotional breakdown in a trial scene. She was scared to act with such well-known stars, and at first she couldn't get the scene right. William K. Howard, the director, got mad and yelled at her in front of everyone. Rosalind didn't break down. Instead, she used her real anger to drive her performance. And she really cried. It was such a strong scene that everyone was shocked. When the movie came out on November 9th, 1934, reviewers were quick to notice how good Rosalind was. The New York Times even called her out by name and said nice things about her work. The people at MGM saw how good she could be and raised her pay from $300 a week to $500 a week. She had parts in 3 more movies by the end of the year, and her career was on the rise. The movie The Women, which came out in 1939, was her big break. Getting the part wasn't easy. The director, George Cukor, had wanted someone else to play the part, but that actor couldn't make it, so Rosalind stepped in. She walked right into his office and said, "My name is Sylvia Fowler." She was given a chance by Cukor, but the first 4-screen test didn't go well. He believed her act was too fancy and not sharp enough. Every single time, Rosalind cried and went back to her changing room, but she wouldn't give up. She did her best on her 5th and last test. She paid $500 of her own money for a handmade outfit and watched a panther at the zoo to learn how to move like a cat. She did her very best, and it paid off. To be exact, she was cast as Sylvia Fowler on April 25th, 1939. In May, filming began. Not only did Rosalind act, though, fans loved Sylvia's unique flipped haircut, which she made with the help of the hairdresser. What a huge hit the movie was when it came out on September 1st, 1939. The way Rosalind played the part stood out, and reviewers loved how sharp her wit and comedic timing were. Rosalind's pay went up to $3,000 a week after the movie made more than $2 million. Her comedic skills made her one of the best actors in Hollywood. But there was one famous moment while they were shooting. A fight scene was being filmed between Rosalind and her co-star Paulette Goddard on June 17, 1939. After 14 takes, everyone was tired and angry from the cat fight that was meant to be fun. Things got out of hand on the 15th take. Rosalind bit Paulette on the leg in the heat of the moment. Paulette yelled because she was hurt, and the movie had to end. Rosalind's bite hurt Paulette so much that she had to get 3 stitches. The studio quickly made up a story for the press that Paulette hurt herself while riding a horse. Rosalind felt terrible about what she had done and tried to say sorry, but Paulette wouldn't talk to her for weeks. They got back together in the end and even became friends. Paulette's leg has a small scar from the bite that you can see in some of her later movies. Russell finally talked about the event in public in her book, which came out in 1977. She wrote, "I've played many animals on screen, cats, snakes, you name it, but that day I actually became one. I've felt bad about that moment for decades, but it taught me a very important lesson about the difference between playing and real life. People in Hollywood tell stories about the bite scene, even though it wasn't used in the final cut." The Women was shown for the 80th time at the TCM Classic Film Festival in 2019, and Goddard's granddaughter said that the family still had the dress Paulette wore in the famous scene. During the golden age of Hollywood, Rosalind Russell was one of the most famous stars of all time. She got her big break in the 1940 movie His Girl Friday, which starred Cary Grant. It wasn't meant for her to play Hilda Johnson at first. Howard Hawks, the director, first gave it to Carole Lombard, but her fee was too high. Jean Arthur, Irene Dunne, and Ginger Rogers were some of the other stars who said no. Hawks didn't want to hire her because Russell herself didn't think she could play the part. There was a lot of fast-paced conversation in the movie, 240 words per minute, which is almost 3 times faster than normal. Russell worked on her lines for hours every day to keep up. She worked so hard that she passed out during practice and even got a stammer that she had to work hard to get rid of. The fact that she changed things up during the show made it even better. Russell thought her character didn't have enough funny lines, so she hired a scriptwriter in secret to come up with more. She slipped these into scenes without notice, which caught Cary Grant off guard, and he had to quickly respond to her asides. In the movies, this made their chemistry feel lively and unexpected. Russell left the theater in the middle of the movie's premiere because she thought she had done a bad job. But the movie was a big hit, making over $2 million, which is a lot of money for $19.40. Russell became a comedy star because of it. Russell did more than just comedy for a living. In 5 years, she was nominated for 3 Oscars for 3 very different parts. In the 1942 movie My Sister Eileen, she played an Ohioan named Ruth Sherwood. Russell was from Connecticut, but she worked with a dialect teacher for months to get a better Midwestern accent. People thought she was really from Ohio, because her part was so real. In the 1946 movie Sister Kenny, she played Elizabeth Kenny, an Australian nurse who came up with a controversial way to treat polio. Russell felt a connection to this part because Kenny's methods had helped her nephew. She lived with the real Elizabeth Kenny for 6 weeks to learn how she behaved and even copied the way she walked. She was nominated for a third award for her role as the dark and complicated Lavinia Mannine in the 1947 movie Morning Becomes Venus. Russell felt drained by this part, and the intense nature of the movie made her have a nervous breakdown when it was over. When the 1948 Oscars were given out, Russell was so sure she would win for this part that she stood up when the winner was announced. She was shocked when Loretta Young's name was called. Afterward, Russell made a joke about how loudly she sat down again. Russell's most well-known part was in Annie Mame, which she played later in her career. In 1956, she played the part on Broadway, and then in 1958, she played it in a movie. It wasn't easy to get the part. Greer Garson was wanted for the part by the producers. Russell had to work hard to get the part, and she even did scenes in the producer's office to show that she could play Mame. The show ran on Broadway for 639 shows, and Russell never missed a single one, even though her pain was really bothering her. In fact, she got Anti-Mame's elbow from throwing her arms wide so many times during one of her famous lines. The movie producers didn't want Russell to play the part because they thought he was too old. She begged for a screen test and wore full makeup and an outfit to hide her age, which worked. It made the most money of any movie in 1958 and got her another Oscar nod. Many fans loved her as Mame so much that they wrote to her and asked her to adopt them. One fan even broke into her house because they thought she was really against Mame. Russell was good at both comedy and drama just as much. She did a lot to get ready for her parts. For a fight scene in The Women, 1939, she paid a boxer to teach her how to throw a real punch. For His Girl Friday, her comedy timing was so important to her that she got her wisdom teeth taken out to improve the way she spoke. She took things just as seriously when they got emotional. Russell lived with nuns for 2 weeks to learn about their daily lives for the 1966 movie The Trouble with Angels, in which she played a nun. When she was in Morning Becomes Electra, she was most dedicated to her dramatic parts. She cut herself off from the rest of the group and even had a soundproof dressing room built so she could concentrate. Russell was good at many things besides playing. She learned to sing and dance for the Broadway show Wonderful Town and won a Tony Award even though she had never done either before. In the beginning of her career, she was unhappy with always playing supporting parts. So to show how dramatic she was, she studied serious acting and literature behind closed doors. Because she was determined, she was able to change her job in a way that fit her needs. But going back and forth between comedies and dramas all the time hurt her mental health. Russell later said that she had been dealing with bipolar illness throughout her career. She thought that having mood swings helped her give complicated characters in movies like Picnic, 1955, and Gypsy, 1962, more emotional depth. Because of her struggles and successes, she was one of the most interesting actors of the golden age of Hollywood. Rosalind Russell met Frederick Brisson, who would become her husband. Their story is so cute that it could be in a Hollywood romantic movie. Brisson was taking a ship from Europe to America in 1939. The movie The Women was shown over and over again on the trip, and Brisson became very interested in Rosalind's performance as Sylvia Fowler. He told his friends, "I'm either going to kill that girl or marry her." He had no idea that Cary Grant would make it possible for him to get it. Brisson stayed at Grant's guest house when he got to the US while Grant filmed Girl Friday with Russell. Brisson was excited to meet Rosalind and begged Grant to put them in touch. Every day on set, Grant asked Russell, "Have you met Freddie Brisson?" because he was always up for making matches. She thought it was funny and would say, "No, what is that? A sandwich." Grant didn't give up, and on February 23, 1940, he finally made it happen. When Rosalind opened her door one night, she thought Grant was with Brisson instead of going out dancing with her. After Grant put them together, the three of them went to dinner. From that one night, they fell in love and soon had one of the longest-lasting marriages in Hollywood. Rosalind and Frederick got married in a fancy wedding in California on October 25, 1941. The guy who brought them together, Cary Grant, was of course the best man. Their happiness grew when they had their son Carl Lance Brisson on November 7, 1943. Rosalind's career was at its peak when Lance was born, just a year after she was nominated for an Oscar for her role in My Sister Eileen, 1942. They were deeply committed to each other for 35 years. until Rosalind's death in 1976. Brisson gave Rosalind a gold band with 35 diamonds for their 35th wedding anniversary. She loved it and wore it until the end of her life. Rosalind was ahead of her time in how she balanced having a successful job with being a mother. Her son was around when she worked. She instead took Lance to movie sets. She wanted him to know that being an actor wasn't all fun and games. It was also a lot of hard work. Rosalind kept taking on difficult jobs even after she became a mother. In 1946, just 3 years after Lance was born, she was nominated for another Oscar for her role in Sister Kenny. In 1948, she worked on the movie The Velvet Touch, which was made by her husband and showed how professionally they worked together. Rosalind put her family first, even though she had a busy job. They bought a house in Beverly Hills in 1941, paying cash to give their family a safe and loved place to live. Throughout her life, this house was their safe place. It gave them a sense of routine in the crazy world of Hollywood. Rosalind's life and work were shaped by her Catholic faith in a big way. The Good Shepherd Parish and the Catholic Motion Picture Guild in Beverly Hills were both important to her while she lived in Hollywood. In strange ways, her faith sometimes had something to do with her work. In 1966, she was getting ready for her part in The Trouble with Angels when she heard from a school friend who was now a mother superior that a Catholic school in St. Louis needed money for a new building. Rosalind talked Columbia Pictures into letting the movie's opening happen in St. Louis, where ticket sales would raise money for the school. This kind deed gave her character more depth in the movie and helped the school a lot. She changed her job and how she behaved on set because of her faith. She was known for being professional and having high moral standards, which she always linked to her Catholic background. These decisions did not hurt her career. Instead, they made her stand out as a sophisticated and well-liked actor. Late in life, Rosalind Russell had a lot of ups and downs. As Hollywood changed in the 1950s and 1960s, she went on to work on TV and in plays. Everyone was shocked when she showed up on TV in Schlitz's Playhouse of Stars on September 15, 1953. It was big news because people saw her a lot in movies. But things turned out well because her TV shows became very famous. Over 27 million people watched her live 1958 show of Wonderful Town on CBS. At that time, there was almost half of all houses with a TV. She became a Broadway star around this time. She was in the show Wonderful Town in 1953. It came from her first movie, My Sister Eileen. The show was a huge hit, and it ran for 559 performances. It was a big deal for her when Wonderful Town won a Tony Award in 1953. She hadn't been on stage in almost 20 years, but she was better than ever when she did. She didn't even know how to sing. She worked hard with a coach for 6 months to learn the songs, though. She had to act 8 times a week while the show was running, which was very hard on her. When she won Best Actress in a Musical at the Tony Awards, the crowd stood up and cheered for her for almost 4 minutes. It was a special moment for her, and she later gave the Tony Award to help fund studies into arthritis. In the late 1960s, things went badly for her. She learned she had breast cancer on her 62nd birthday in 1969. After only 3 days, she had surgery to remove the cancer. Along with that, she had rheumatoid arthritis, which came on quickly. She woke up one morning and her feet and hands were stuck. She said it hurt like hitting her fingers over and over in a car door. She didn't stop working though, and even wore makeup and outfits to hide the fact that she was sick. Over time, her health got worse. It was 1971, and she had dropped a lot of weight. To deal with the pain, she had to take 26 pills every day. It came back, so she had to have surgery again in 1972. She kept going even though her body was giving out. In 1971, she finished her last movie, Mrs. Polyphax Spy. She was very proud of this project because she not only played in it, but also wrote the script. As the author, she used the name C.A. McKnight, which was her mother's given name. She had used that name before. She did it before in 1956 when she wrote The Unguarded Moment. She felt like everything had come full circle, but it wasn't easy to make this movie. At this point, Rosalind was really sick. That painful joint disease was getting worse for her. The drug she was taking made it hard for her to work and changed how she looked. She kept going though, and finished the movie. The movie didn't do well at the box office, and she later wished she hadn't told everyone about her illness. She thought that studios were afraid to work with her because of it. Being sick is the worst thing that can happen to anyone, she once said as she thought about her problems. Since then, she had been in more than 50 movies over the course of almost 40 years. Rosalind didn't let her problems stop her. Instead, she became an activist for arthritis research. She first told other people about her illness in public in 1970. Everyone was shocked when she took off her gloves at a congressional meeting to show how swollen her hands were. She held events that raised more than $20 million for joint research from 1970 to 1976. And giving talks. In 1974, she also helped get the National Arthritis Act passed, which gave money for study and treatments. She worked with doctors to try new treatments even though she was very sick, so she could help other people who were hurting. She gave a speech at a medical meeting in 1976, just a few months before she died. She was in a wheelchair and in a lot of pain, but she was very determined to find a way to fix arthritis. Many people were moved by what she said, and the Rosalind Russell Medical Research Center for Arthritis is a tribute to her. The center still does important work and has helped millions of people. Rosalind died on November 28, 1976. But that wasn't the end of her story. Life is a Banquet. Her memoirs came out in 1977. It was written with Chris Chase and was her own words about her life. That's funny, sincere, and full of interesting stories. That was a great title for her because she always lived her life like it was a feast of adventures. Her son, Lance Brisson, told her one of the most surprising things about her life. He told them that his mom had a major nervous breakdown in 1943. She was at the top of her game at the time, just 3 years after her big break in His Girl Friday. Rosalind was trying to work and be a new mom at the same time. Besides that, she worked hard for the war effort, putting on USO shows and raising money. Even worse, 2 of her brothers died at this time. Rosalind passed out because it was all too much. She said it felt like waking up and falling down in a heap. She was in the hospital for 3 weeks and didn't act in any movies in 1944. She chose to play more serious parts in movies like Sister Kinney and Morning Becomes Electra after she got better. These roles helped her grow as an actor. The fact that Rosalind was old was another surprise. She told everyone for years that she was born in 1908. It was found out after she died that she was born in 1907. At that time, many actors lied about their ages to look younger, so this wasn't rare. In Hollywood, especially for women, youth was often valued more than ability. Rosalind was so sure of this lie that the wrong year was written in her book. This small lie changes how we think about her work. For instance, she was 33 years old, not 32, when she played the lead role in His Girl Friday. Shows the unfair stress actors like her were under, having to look younger all the time to stay popular. Rosalind had a very interesting personal life, as well as a very interesting job. As one of 6 children, she often felt like she was in the middle of things. She called herself the ham in the sandwich. In the early 1940s, when 2 of her brothers died, things were very hard for her family. Rosalind was already under a lot of stress, but her family came together to protect her public image while she was having a breakdown. Her marriage to Frederick Brisson was one of the best times in her life. Their love story was like a movie. In Hollywood, people rarely stayed together for 35 years. Rosalind had an impact on more than just her works. Because she had arthritis herself, she worked hard to help other people, especially with arthritis studies. She opened the Rosalind Russell Medical Research Center for Arthritis in 1974, and it still helps people today. Lance, her son, keeps up the work she started and helps the center and other issues she cared about. Rosalind's movies are also a part of history. In parts like His Girl Friday and Annie Mame, she showed people strong, independent women. Many women were moved by these characters to be brave and follow their dreams. A film called Life is a Banquet, which came out in 2009, told a new group of people about her life. It talked about both her good and bad times, which helped people get a better sense of who she really was.